Ahoy, ahoy! Welcome to a brand new edition of Ramble on Reaction. Sitting next to me is handsome Dan Nye.
Oh, hi, Eric.
Oh, hi, Dan.
You look so beautiful in your sweater.
You look so handsome with your t-shirt.
What a great story, Eric.
Okay, game face on.
No more.
We're done. That joke is done. It ran its course.
We figured we'd do it for like the first 5 seconds and let it play out because that's about all you can take. So,
times.
Yes, we both saw a movie called The Disaster Artist.
Yes.
Which is...
based on the book, based on the making of The Room, the Citizen Kane of bad movies.
Yes. Written by Greg Sestero?
Yes.
Is that his last name?
Yeah, good job.
Yeah. So I think both he and Wiseau actually helped produce this as well,
yeah.
if I remember correctly. And this is directed by James Franco, starring James Franco, somewhat ironically, and Dave Franco, and Seth Rogen, and Zac Efron, and Josh Hutcherson, and... a whole bunch, and Paul Scheer, and like a whole bunch of people.
Zac Efron!
Yeah, Zac Efron. I was like, is that Zac Efron?
I love Zac Efron.
It was surprising, yeah.
I love the entire cast in this. Like, I know we normally like, here's a brief summary of the movie. Now we're going to go into our positives. We already told you that. But yeah, love the cast in this. It was a good cast all around.
I was just really surprised to see these kind of people play these kind of roles. And as far as the summary of the movie goes, it's
about the making of...
it's about the making of The Room.
But more importantly, it's about the friendship between Greg and Tommy, played by Dave and... what's the
James.
Other? James, respectively. And it's literally about, these guys who... it's their dream to be actors in Hollywood, which... you get to see. It's not glamorous, so I feel... I now know more what you go through. I can't handle that much rejection.
It's like,
and then the two of them going, you know what? Fuck it. We're living our dream. We're making our movie. And it's just like, yeah, you do that.
Oddly,
you stick it to the system.
Oddly inspiring.
It really is. Like, I felt a little inspired afterwards.
I think the tagline was a tribute to those who fail so spectacularly that they actually triumph.
Yeah,
and that's a pretty good nutshell of this movie as well, where it was. I think if you don't have the leads played by the Franco brothers, I don't think you get as good a dynamic as you could. Because you could tell, like, the fact that you're telling that they care about each other as people, there are multiple times in the movie where I'm like, oh, that's right, that's James Franco. And it's like, having seen The Room a few times, it's like, oh, he's really, like... oh,
there's a couple times where I thought... did they just have Tommy fill in for James during this?
It's kind of...
there's a couple moments where like, that's not James. That's Tommy.
Yeah, it's uncanny, the impression that he's doing. And Dave, there's not really an impression to do of Greg, because Greg's just like kind of a normal guy. But it's really interesting to see the behind-the-scenes aspects and to see what everyone went through and, like... Even in the worst of conditions, some of the actors are still like weirdly optimistic.
It's like, hey, we're making a movie. This is art. We get to perform. We're getting paid to do our love. And she's like, I'm inspired.
Yeah. And when they try to break down what the film is actually about, it's a really interesting scene. I would say that there's so many collections of really interesting scenes with this. Like, I think the audition montage is one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
It's not porno, but eat ice cream.
Yeah. But eat it faster. Now you're riding a horse. Like, it was just, what?
Do it like Shakespeare.
Yeah, but sexy. Like, sexy shakes. It was so funny. Like, it didn't make any sense. It was extremely irreverent, but it's like...
that's assuming how it would have gone.
But it's like you've never been in that situation where it's like, what do I want to see this person doing? And how silly can it look? Like, it was... they would totally break and be like, no, you're doing really good. It's like, you're not supposed to do that. Stay character. So, what else can we even talk about this movie? I would say people. I
was going to say, we're going over positives, negatives.
Well, before we get to that, people have said, like, do you have to see The Room to see this?
No, I don't think you have to. But if you've seen The Room, you'll appreciate it more. You'll understand, like, there's jokes and references that... if you haven't seen the film, you're not really going to get. You're just like, man, that's an odd scene that they're doing here. But you're like, oh, this is great.
I think it goes.
It's the drug bust scene.
Yay! I think it goes even a step deeper than that, where some of the dialogue and the way it's written into the film actually pops up again in the filming of The Room, and it's like you see where some of these comments were originated from, were some of the most iconic lines. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like the Shakespeare in Love approach, where it's like, oh, this line inspired this later on.
Yes.
definitely have breast cancer.
Negatives? Yeah.
My only real negatives is that they go a little too Hollywood happy ending at the end.
I don't know if it turned...
Because that's not how it went in real life. Yeah. And also, there's some pacing issues where it's like, you go like really fast, like with montages or like they're making of the film, and then it just like hits a brick wall and slows down and gives you like another scene that it's like, okay, kind of a plus, but really doesn't. And then the ending scene, the ending part of the movie where like they show them reenacting scenes from The Room. I liked it, but I just thought it was just went a little too long. Could have cut it a little bit. Or if you're doing that, at least let us know you're actually doing a release of The Room starring everyone.
Oh, that would have been insane.
Starring the cast of The Disaster Artist.
That would gross more money in its opening weekend than The Room did in ever. Like, just seeing those actors actually do it. Because clearly they did, you know, that's maybe almost 5 minutes of, like, cut footage. So that had to have been multiple days dedicated. So, as far as the negatives for me go, I would just say it's a weird... This movie is kind of strange where it's... that the truth is so much stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
And, like... The story itself is a better story and a better movie than The Room. So trying to wrap your head around the fact that like a movie about how the movie failed but is ultimately a success.
Well, it's like the opening scene in this movie. It's a bunch of like celebrities talking about like, this is a movie that came out and failed 10 years ago. And we talk about it more than movies that won Best Picture.
Yeah, there's like nobody cares about what the movie picture was for 10 years ago. All that being said, I enjoyed it. I think it was, like, The Disaster Artist. I enjoyed it as a film. I don't know if it's, like, the Laugh Riot Awards-winning fest that everyone makes it out to be. It's good.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's good for what it is, and it's funny at times. It's not the funniest thing I've seen this year.
Oh, that's the thing. I don't think it's trying to be a comedy, but people think it is trying to be a comedy because it's about The Room.
Yeah.
But, again, The Room isn't a comedy. It's supposed to be a dark, hard-hitting Tennessee Williams play, but it ended up being
schlock.
Right, it ended up being one of the funniest movies you'll ever see.
Exactly, but for different reasons. Whereas this,
I know it's hard to interpret.
It's hard to interpret this, and so towing that line, to me, it didn't. I was for those expectations, which he hates me having so much. It was just a different movie. It was a different movie than I was expecting. So upon further watching, I might like it more. But what's your grade for this?
I give it a B+.
I will push that, actually. I'll do a B+ as well. I wanted to go in being like, this is going to be an A, and I'm like, this movie was fine. And I think people should see it, but I mean...
It'll probably end up on my top 10 by, like, the lower part.
I think maybe.
Yeah, because, like I said, I recommend this film. I just don't recommend, like, you know, getting on Blu-ray the second you can and watching it and enjoying and basking in it.
It's an interesting
film about an interesting subject.
Yeah. So that's a good way to put it. It's interesting, but it's not like...
It's almost like a documentary in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a dramatic documentary.
Yeah.
So... Thank you very much for making it to the end of this video. Those are our thoughts on The Disaster Artist. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share. Let us know what you thought about The Disaster Artist. Do you think it'll win all the Oscars? Do you want to see Tommy Wiseau at the Academy Awards?
Well, the answer is obviously yes.
Because, I mean, I think James Franco has officially said if it gets Oscar nominations, Tommy's his date. So, that could be a thing. Him having on multiple belts for most of this movie made me think of college and choices I made.
Oh...
Having multiple belts? Where are you going with that?
Oh, no. Now I'm intrigued. I want to hear the story of multi-belt Dan.
That was literally the end of the story. It's a pretty terrible story. So, that's clever Eric Muller right there.
That's handsome Dan Nye over there.
As always, Ramble on.
You're my favorite customer.